So, Amy, you wanna tell us your story? Continue with your story
I'm
now.
gonna continue my story. First, I apologize. Last time I was kind of emotional, so I say something wrong. The year it should be that day was September 17, 1966, not the 69. I say the 69, so that's a mistake. So let's go back to that day. So after I denounced my parents and how do we survive that night, it's just use the word say it's called the red terror. So they start the movement and they breaking into your house, and then they started the procedure is confiscating your property, actually destroy your property, and then exterminated the family. That's the whole thing. And so they start tied my parents up and then put this water bugger hand on their neck and order them to bend down, and then they start searching the house, and they put a ruin and destroy all the property we have, personal property like my parents' wedding picture, our baby pictures, and all the books rolled up and burn, and everything. Then use a chisel and to breaking the ground, our hardwood floor. They said they're searching for some anti-revolution document, anti-Mao things, and then make a hole in the house, and just everything. They took away everything and destroy everything, and then they discovered something. So that was horrible. They discovered a plaster statue model of Mao, and so they asked my father, say, who made this? My father says, my company made. Let's talk about a little about my father. And he started his own business actually in Hong Kong. And during the Japanese occupation, he started automobile parts business in Burma Road. And then from Burma and Vietnam and India. And then after communists took power in 1949. So they want every overseas Chinese bring the money back to build a new country. That time my father was only 32 years old, so he's quite naive. So he believed communists will build a new country and free education, free everything for people. So he bring all the money back. So he found that they need there's in the entire country, they don't have any teaching equipment. The factory. So, mainly is making this teaching for medical school, those kind of things. So they also do the pastor statues. Mm-hmm. So you have, every school, every office to have the Mao's image. So the pastor statue, so they did. But, those red guys, they don't know anything about pastor statue. So they say, how come, the pastor statue, the eyeball part is sunken. So that's part of art, So they say you took away Mao's eyeball. So immediately you become an anti-Mao, so you deserve it to be executed. So it's a big thing. And so they wanted to call the police department because they cannot do the execution. And but nobody answered, of course. And, actually, if they really called, the police department probably would tend to be better resolved, because otherwise they're going to beat you to death, just like that. And so they say, oh, wait. And then they start still searching everything, so any other documentation against this reactionary family. And so they found the diary. So a couple of days ago, and they just beat a teacher to death in front of me. And I was 13 years old, I never seen death in my life. I never seen anybody building a life just disappear and die in front of me. So I just cannot think through. So I write a diary. I said, I just want to know why they had to beat her to death. I know she makes a mistake, and maybe she said something wrong, but that not deserve to die. And so I just write the question. So they say, oh, you are anti-revolutionary. And so they tied me up, and they say they're going to take me back to the school. And one of this red guy is my best friend. And I pick her up every day because I had to go through her house apartment. And so we holding hands, go to school every day. And we're doing homework together. And but she become a red guy, and I become an enemy. And but she just took me there, and they started put me in that's a very podium. They beat that teacher to death. So they started to beat me, and then something happened. I don't know. Maybe just God didn't want me to die or something. Their leader is from probably 2 classes older than us. And coming down and say, what are you doing? And I asked those red guys, my classmates. And they said, we found that she write the diary, and that she was anti-revolution and anti-Mao. And we just wanted to contact what we do with her parents. We wanted to execute them. And I also wanted to execute her. And so the guy, he probably about 2 years older than me, I think, their leader. So he said, let me look at her diary. So they gave it to him. And so he said, well, and let me read it. He said that it takes time. It's just put her in another room and wait. And concerning about her parents, he said that I had to contact with in the company his father worked for. Actually owned the company before. And so for any execution, everything, we had to have their work unit, the people, because they have this revolution committee. So they had to be present, and they had to agree. So that's why, I'm being saved. And then he looked at it, he said, he gave back my diary. He said, I don't see that you were and say you hate Mao or you hate communists, but you didn't say that. You just question about what's happened to the teacher, what did he do wrong? And I say, I don't think that's, it's big deal. So he gave back to me, he said, but I cannot let you go home because you had to stay here, wait until the morning. I contact your father's company and let them to handle it. But meanwhile, they went back, they took everything, all the properties, everything. And they graffiti the wall, they say it is some long life to the red terror. And then skiing the vampire, stomp the lychee, all the things all over the place. So, but anyway, I don't know, because maybe God's wish or something, we survived. We've been saved. Didn't die in the night, that night. Because so other people I know, they just beat to death. So many families.
Wow. Once again, I'm speechless. It is hard to fathom how this kind of thing happens, but it does.
Well, that's the Cultural Revolution, and Chinese Communist Party continue its practice of killing people after Cultural Revolution, right? They sent the tanks to Tiananmen Square in 1989, and also they had a persecution in Falun Gong and underground Christianity members in China, and also they have been sending the Uyghur group to labor camp in the last decade. So, ever since the beginning of Chinese Communist regime took over control of China in 1949, they killed tens of millions of people in the peacetime without any war with any country. So that's what happened.
So far, that number never been revealed. the real numbers.
How many have
Yeah,
actually been killed?
Actually, yeah.
Right. We see different numbers. There are people say 30 million. There were people say 40 million. There were people say the biggest number I thought was 80 million. But you're probably never going to even be able to verify the real number. Just like the people escaped from Vietnam will never. There are all kind of estimated. There were people say 1 million Vietnamese refugee. They will say 2 million Vietnamese
Sure.
refugee die. You're never going to be able to find out the true number.